All right, everybody, we're back. This is week 2 of the 50 state qualification series. This week is Pennsylvania, my home state. I've been a police officer in Pennsylvania for over 2 decades and been a firearms instructor just about that long as well. I'm in my 20th year as a. Up until 2020, Pennsylvania really didn't mandate any specifics for qualification whatsoever. In fact, the regulations only stated that it needed to be a 50-round course of fire with a minimum of 10% of those rounds fired from 25 yards or greater. Beyond that, there was really no control over course of fire, time, target, scoring, and individual agencies were left on their own to figure those things out. And then in 2020, MPOETC, the commission that standardizes and governs law enforcement certification in the state of Pennsylvania, came out with this standardized 50-round course, which they adapted from the 60-round academy qualification course that they had been firing for years. So this is their course. We're going to give it a shot. Again, we're going to shoot it as written, and I'm going to read the stages verbatim because they're very wordy and they're kind of complex and very specific. And then once I finish that, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a challenge, and I'm going to shoot this double half. Okay, for those of you guys who trained me in my instructor courses, you know this, you'll recognize that as the double half dumpster fire drill. So here is Pennsylvania's MPOETC Handgun Qualification course. Stage 1, precision fire from cover. From the 25-yard line on the command of fire, shooter draws, takes cover, and fires 2 rounds standing right side of barricade, 2 rounds kneeling right side barricade, 2 rounds kneeling left side barricade, 2 rounds standing left side barricade. Firing is done using a rollout technique, whatever that is. Firing 2 rounds per exposure and using a different location for each exposure. When all 8 rounds have been fired, the shooter should perform a tactical magazine save reload. Total time for 8 rounds is 40 seconds. Here we go. Hey guys, we keep the warts and all. I managed to hit the magazine release on that first round, so picked it up, fixed it, cleared it, still 30-81. All right, on to the next, stage 2. Stage 2 is move to cover. From the 15-yard line on the command of fire, shooter draws and fires 2 rounds at target, moves to the right 2 to 3 yards to kneel behind low cover or simulated cover, and fires 1 round from behind cover. Total time for 3 rounds is 8 seconds. Then I'm gonna repeat the drill, moving to the left. It's 504, move the cover. All right, same drill. All right, guys, on to stage 3. This is walk and draw. From the 15-yard line, on the command to walk, shooter will begin walking towards the target. On the command to fire, the shooter will stop, draw, and fire 3 rounds in 5 seconds. So I'm going to back up here to the 15. I'm going to hit the timer and start walking. When it goes off, it's set to random. I have 3 rounds in 5 seconds. All right, here we go. And finally, stage 4, we have one-handed firing. This is done from the 7-yard line. From the 7-yard line on the command of fire, shooter draws, fires 2 rounds strong hand only from eye level. Decocks or engages safety, transfers weapon to the support hand and fires 2 rounds with support hand only from eye level. Total time for this drill for the 4 rounds is 10 seconds. And we're going to do this drill twice. This is the first time we're going to repeat a drill. We're going to do it twice. So draw 2, transfer 2. We're going to do the drill twice. Okay? Again, I have 10 seconds. .535, plenty of time. 442, got it in that. Now let's go up and take a look at the target. If I can get my camera out. There we go. All right, guys. So this is scored, take my notes with me here, in 2 phases. All right, first phase, each phase is worth 125 points. You need a minimum passing score, all right, of 94 points. All right, it's shot on a TQ21 target. Guys, you can see the TQ21 here. This is what the target looks like. It's got those graduated scoring zones. Inside the zone, inside this line here, that's all gonna be 5 point. Anything else in the silhouette is 3, anything out is 2. So as you can see, I'm 100% in. Nothing perfect, a little chilly out here, cold run, but that's a 125. All right, so that's perfect first phase. On to phase 2. So now that we've entered phase 2, this can be considered the short range phase. All right, so we're starting off at the 1 yard line with stage 1, phase 2, the shove shoot. From the 1 yard line on the command of fire, shooter will strike the target with a support hand, step back, draws, and fires 2 rounds in 4 seconds. So this is a shove, step back from the 1, and fire 2 rounds in a earth-shattering speed of 4 seconds. Okay, here we go. .149, I got it, just by the skin of my teeth. Okay, now stage 2, phase 2, the reaction shoot. We're gonna back all the way up to the 3. All right, come on back here. All right, back to part of the 3. On the command of fire, shooter draws and fires 2 rounds in 3 seconds. All right, this is the fastest. This is the fastest we go. This is 2 rounds, 3 seconds, 3 yard line. We'll see if we can pull it off. One second flat. Okay, on to the next. Phase 2, stage 3 is firing retreat. From the 3 yard line, the command of fire, shooter draws and fires 4 rounds in 8 seconds while moving back to the 7 yard line. Body armor drill. When all shooters have recovered to the scan position or at the 7 yard line, the firearms instructor will call out body armor and the shooter will fire 1 additional headshot. All right, I have 8 seconds to fire 4 rounds, and then I have 2 seconds to fire the 5th body armor shot back from the 7. All right, here we go. Plenty of time. Stage 4, phase 2 is pivot fire. Great name. From the 7 yard line, with the shooter facing away from the threat target, and with their weapon holstered on the command of fire, the shooter pivots 180 degrees to face the threat, draws and fires 2 rounds in 4 seconds. Ensure shooters do not draw until facing the target. We're going to do this drill 3 times. We're going to repeat this 3 times. On the final repetition, after the 3rd repetition, when all shooters have recovered to the scan position, again, the firearms instructor will call out body armor, and the shooters will fire 1 additional headshot within 2 seconds. Okay, so I need 7 rounds total for this run. Looks like I have just that. So, excuse me, this is 180 degree turning movement to 2 rounds, and I have, did I read that right? I have 4 seconds. Okay, 4 seconds, yeah, that's better. That's not too bad. Okay, here we go. .183, let's go again. .193, here we go. All right, stage 5 in phase 2, from the 10 yard line. On the command of fire, the shooter draws and moves to the left while engaging target with 3 rounds in 8 seconds. And then I'm going to repeat the drill moving to the right. It doesn't specify engaging them on the move, how you're supposed to move. Most agencies I see do this. We see some god-awful variation of the tactical crab, or we see step shoot, some nonsense. Trying to shoot in continuous motion, I think that's what they want you to do here. All right, it's not clear. It's one of the few things that isn't spelled out in ridiculously over-wordy paragraph, but we're going to give it a shot. So this is moving to the left 3 rounds in 8 seconds and moving to the right 8 seconds for 3 rounds. Okay, so here we go. I got 8 seconds. I'm at the 10-yard line, moving left first. That took me 2.60, now right. That took me 2.89. Okay, now we're getting ready to go into the final phase, which also starts back here at the 10. Let me grab my sheet. This is going to be firing while advancing. All right, so this is stage 6, phase 2. Firing while advancing from the 10-yard line. The command to fire, shooter draws and fires 3 rounds in 8 seconds while advancing towards the target. All right, let's just get this adjusted here. So I'm going to be firing 3 rounds, moving forward, pretty simple. I have, again, 8 seconds to fire these 3 rounds. Then we're going to finish this up, score it up. All right, here we go. And we belted that out in 294. Let's go up and score this bad boy and finish her out. Okay, so phase 2 is super easy to shoot clean. No challenge there, guys. Take a look. Here's the target. All right, all hits are in. So that is a 125 and a 125. That gives me a 250 out of 250 or a perfect score. Not difficult to do in this course of fire. Now, let's put a little challenge to it. Now we go double half. That is difficult. In double half, I'm just gonna shoot this one continuous through on one single target. I'm not gonna shoot it in phases or score it in phases. I'm gonna shoot all 50 rounds, then score it up and see how we did, and then give you my thoughts on the MPOETC Duty Handgun Qualification course. Walk. .70 flat. And real quick, I'm gonna go pick up that one headshot from the 6-yard that I forgot to do. All right, so finished up the double half, scored it up, guys. You can see I got a 213 out of 250. I hit all my time hacks. I had 3 off paper I saw, 2 more that airballed somewhere. I'm not sure where those went. My guess is probably the 30-yard, 2 rounds, kneel 1, because that's a fairly quick time hack at that distance. 39 in the primary score zone, 6 in the secondary score zone. Give me a total of 213 out of 250, or an 85%, in which I pass easily in the MPOETC standard double half. All right, guys, so the MPOETC course of fire, check it out. We've been doing this for a long time, but it's a fairly recent specific course of fire that only came around in 2020. There's a reason that a lot of agencies opt out of this, okay? I'll go into some of the things through the different reviews as we talk about this, but let's start off first with difficulty. As I mentioned before, I don't gauge difficulty based off of the standard course of fire. I would give everybody a 0, okay? I gauge it based off of the double half score. And if I'm scoring up in the 80 percentile in double half, I'm going to give difficulty for Pennsylvania of a 2. Okay, we got a 2. So in terms of difficulty 2, now on to relevance. Now here's my huge problem. This is a classic example of a qualification course of fire that tries to do too much, tries to be too much, and tries to supplant training. I know that in the literature that was released for this course of fire, it specifically reminds departments that qualification is not training. But then a course of fire like this goes into doing just that and it hits a whole bunch of different things. And my problem, my main beef with the MPOETC course of fire as it is written, is it utterly lacks relevance, okay? What we do in this course of fire, there are a lot of strings in actions or skills that we just don't see that often in real fights. 180-degree turns is a perfect example. It's the only drill you repeat 3 times. Okay, it's just not something that's done. We don't magically have a threat behind us, turn around 180 degrees and engage it. It simply doesn't happen. If you refer back to my movement study, you know these turning movements in and of themselves. Over 700 fights that I observed in my white paper on my movement study, there were only 3 turning movements, and none of them were 180 degrees. 0, none. Yet this course does it 3 times. Okay, it chooses to repeat one-handed shooting twice. Okay, and does that with a very, very far distant to what a one-handed shoot would likely be with an extra amount of time. But then there are certain things it doesn't test. Now I will give it some credit. I'll give it some credit in relevance for requiring officers to shoot on the move. It does require forward and backward shooting on the move. The lateral shooting on the move it could do without. The turns it could do without. I will give it some credit there. And that's going to bump my relevance score for MPOETC from what would have been a 1, because it's very outdated. Even though it's just from 2020, it's using circa 1989 terminology and techniques. Guys, if you think the daytime's bad, go look at the nighttime one when it literally talks about starting a course of fire with the flashlight rested on the shoulder. Who's writing this? Right, guys, we gotta adapt with the times. We cannot do what we did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. I'd even say 5 years ago. You got about a 5-year window where you should be updating every 5 years. So a long way of saying, guys, relevance, I would have given Pennsylvania a 1. The movement gives me a little bit of extra oomph, and I'm gonna bump relevance up to a 2, okay, 2. Now, shootability. This one is, from a shootability standpoint, this is kind of a nightmare. There's some confusing terminology. There's some different things that are all over the place. Shooters got to go, am I shooting on the move? Am I shooting stationary? There's a lot of wiggle room and a lot of oddities that happen that have to be explained. Every time I run this course of fire, if I shoot this, I have to extra explain and do my best guess as to what I think is going to happen. So shootability, Pennsylvania, you get a 2. And then finally, for administration, this course as an instructor, okay, I ran this course a couple of times after 2021 was put in place before we requested a waiver to shoot a different course of fire, as many agencies did. From an admin standpoint, this course is a nightmare, okay? Questions to be answered from the shooters because things, even though there's plenty of words written, they're not clear. They're clear as mud. 2-phase scoring, target changes, percentages, passing this, passing that. It's a nightmare to put on. It's a real pain in the ass to administer. So I'm giving it a 1, okay? So Pennsylvania, as much as I hate to do this, you're my home state. I've been here been a cop here in the state for going on 22 years now. But I got to do it to you guys. Pennsylvania, you scored a 7 out of 20, okay? We can do better than this. We really, really can, and we really should. So, all right, guys, that's PA. If you have any comments from all my fellow Pennsylvania officers, I know I train with a lot of you guys. If you got comments, I'd love to hear them. Like, comment, subscribe on this video. Check out my other social media and stick with us. Next week, we're going to the Garden State, New Jersey.